Alright guys, Bitcoin got a rejection at a very important level and I'm closing my entire long position right here. Let me show you exactly why. And a little later in the video, I'm also going to show you where I'm looking to enter another big trade, so stay with me for that. So Bitcoin recently saw another huge pump to the upside, and what you're going to see right here is that we are getting a rejection at a key level. Before we get into that, let me quickly talk about the short I entered. As I told you in the previous video, I shorted after Bitcoin swept this liquidity level at around $76,000 with a very tight stop loss just above the high. I did think we had a high probability of pushing higher, but the risk to reward was just too good to ignore. And as you can see, I was stopped out of that short, which is completely fine. Tight risk, clear invalidation. That's the way I like to trade these setups. But on the other hand, the long that we entered much lower is now in an unbelievable profit. And I'm closing the entire position right here. And let me show you exactly why. If we switch to the log scale, what you're going to see is this trend line right here. This is the level I've been talking about in the previous videos. The one that had a high probability of getting hit and a very important resistance as well. Because the last time Bitcoin tagged this trend line, it got a massive rejection. And recently we tagged it once again, and Bitcoin got a reaction. That's why I took profits there. And this ties in perfectly with the WXY pattern that we've been talking about multiple times throughout the videos. And right now, it's even clearer than before. What you're going to see is we had the W, the X, and now we are completing the Y right here. And this is exactly what happened last time. The last push of the previous WXY got rejected at the exact same trend line that Bitcoin just touched right now. So same pattern and the same trend line. And in my opinion, that's a very strong reason to take profits off the table. But I do think that Bitcoin still has a chance of getting one slight push higher. There are a few very important levels I'm watching. The first one is the daily level at $78,600. And slightly above that, we have a liquidity level sitting at approximately $79,300. Now let me show you something very interesting. If we take the fib extension and measure the last ABC of the WXY, the one-to-one target comes in at approximately $79,400. And what you're going to see is that it lines up almost exactly with the liquidity level. So again, we have multiple levels pointing to the same area. Now on top of the daily level, the liquidity and the one-to-one target that we just talked about, there is another reason why Bitcoin could push higher one more time. And that is the CME gap sitting at around $77,500. Bitcoin closed the CME on Friday right at this level. And as you know, more than 90% of CME gaps get filled sooner or later. And usually the smaller the gap is in price, the quicker it gets filled. So that's definitely another reason for Bitcoin to see one more push to the upside. And on top of that, let me pull up this chart right here. The average daily returns for Bitcoin throughout the week. And the most bullish part of the week is coming up on Monday, which is the day with the best returns by far. On the other hand, Bitcoin has been struggling through the weekends, which you can clearly see from this chart and also from the current price action we are seeing right now. So the probability of Bitcoin getting one more push to the upside into Monday is definitely there. And that's exactly why even though I'm taking profits on my long here, I'm not rushing to short just yet. And there is one more thing worth looking at. If we open up the liquidation heat map on the 3-day chart, what you're going to see is that a huge amount of short liquidations has built up just above the recent high. And if we zoom out to the 1-week chart, same story. Nearly 200 million in short liquidations stacked above the recent high. So this is another reason why Bitcoin could push up one more time to the upside before heading lower. And before I show you something very important, I just want to quickly thank you guys for the 51 subscribers we hit recently. And I really appreciate every single one of you. 100 subs is definitely possible, so if you are finding this helpful, hit that subscribe button, like the video and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Alright, let's get back to the video. Now I'm definitely not looking too long here. No way with Bitcoin holding around this massive resistance trend line with all these levels sitting just slightly above. In my opinion, there is much more potential to the downside from here. So let me show you the important levels. When Bitcoin started this last push higher, what you're going to see is that it left this liquidity unswept at around $70,400. Price bounced right before tagging it and took off. And as you know, unswept liquidity tends to attract price sooner or later. So that is a bearish sign and a clear target to the downside. And right below that, we also have the unfilled CME gap sitting at around $69,500. and as we just talked about, more than 90% of CME gas do get filled. So that is another level sitting right below the liquidity that Bitcoin has a very high probability of visiting. Now ideally, Bitcoin would get another slight push higher in the coming days, fill the CME gap at $77.5 thousand US and hit at least the daily level at $78.6 thousand US before heading back down. And that is exactly where I would be looking to fire a brand new short position. And if that does happen, Bitcoin would also wreck a lot of the new shorts that stacked up right above this recent high before heading lower. So to sum it up, definitely no longs from here, but I will fire a major short if or when it gets offered. So that's where we are. I closed my long at the resistance trend line, waiting patiently for Bitcoin to offer that short setup higher up. And if it plays out, the targets to the downside are clear. As always, this is not financial advice and manage your risk. Let me know in the comments what you guys think and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.